ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Thank you all so much for joining us. It
Woohoo!
is Monday, August 1st, in the year that is 2022. This is the Voice of Reason. And as always, my name is Sean Phillips, and I am joined alongside my two co hosts, Mr. Andy Van Beber and Travis Kirkendall. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
I am I am. I'm not going to go into the whole story again, but I am here. I hate golden retrievers right now, and you know, it's all good though. It's all good.
Perks of being a dog owner, right?
Yeah. I mean, Travis, the new
Yeah,
dog.
Travis.
Travis, tell us about the pup.
Yeah.
So we got our first dog together this weekend. I'll flip the video. This is Lupo. We drove 6 hours up to Michigan to pick him up on Saturday. We left
Oof,
at 7:30 a.m. Got home at 10:30 p.m.
there he
He is a
is.
Chesapeake Bay Retriever. His name is Lupo, and he is a handful. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he's
He had a hard day today, if you can't tell.
yeah, yep.
So talk me through Travis the process because I've heard of people that have like traveled to go get animals before, but I've never done that. How do you guys like? Did you know what breed you wanted? Then did you like Google
Mhm.
like breeders in the area? How'd you guys go about that?
Yeah, we knew exactly what breed we wanted. There was she just did an online search and found this app called, I think it's called Good Dog
Yep.
or Good Dog Breeder.
Good dog
And
breeder.
yeah, it literally just shows you
We've used.
breeders for your dog type, like where they're at and near you. Um, Obviously he wasn't close to us, but there wasn't really any breeders of these kinds of dogs near us. So that
You
was really as good as it gets.
you have to be.
But yeah, we just messaged them.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and
What was your
I was going to say you have to be really careful because my wife had wanted a case hound, which is a Dutch water dog, and we had one. She lived to be 12, but I didn't know that there was, online. There's online like these sites that are set up supposedly for breeders and all this other stuff. But we literally got the Nigerian scam one time, and I almost, this has been 15 years ago, and I didn't know. I was like, oh my gosh, and so, but we used that good dog. It was something similar to that somebody, I think our vet recommended us to, and we ended up we drove 5 hours down to, like, we drove to Springfield, Missouri to get this dog, and we met this guy. And if you've seen, I'm sure you guys have seen the movie Joe Dirt, right? Everybody's seen Joe Dirt. Okay, we
yeah.
bought the dog from Joe Dirt. I kid you not. Everything from the mustache, from the handlebars to the trash stash to wearing the wife beater to cut up blue jeans and just this weird mullet. And the dog was filthy, but I mean, he had the papers for it and everything. But yeah, I hope your experience was better than that, Travis.
No, our experience was super easy. The breeders were awesome, really super nice people. They already started training him. Like he already knows how to sit, come for the most part, uh, stay. He's kind of getting that figured out. He's They did a really good job with him already, so super happy with him. And yeah, the Sean, to answer your question, the process was super easy, and the platform Good Dog's a really good platform to find a dog on.
Yeah,
I
and
think we had a good
Tony
experience
and I
with
have
it.
talked when Xerxes finally kicks the bucket. I think we're gonna put a pause on owning a dog for a little while. I know like Julian really wants a cat, so I feel like cats are a little bit more independent, where we kind of
Yep.
set shit out and not have to worry about the
Yeah.
cat
As
as
long as they
much.
don't spray
But
all
the
over your
difference between
house.
like yeah, well, that's the thing is like we'll definitely probably get like a female cat, but then also like the thing about cats is all cats are kind of like all pit bulls where like they can be nice and then randomly they'll just strike one day and maul
Right.
your child, they'll maul
Right.
you, they'll maul everybody in sight. So um but it's worth it. I don't know. I love cats. I really wanted when I got back from Cuba, I had put money aside. I wanted to buy a one of those skin or hairless cats. I wanted
Oh
one
no,
so
no,
freaking bad.
no.
I just wanted to be able to look at him and remind myself of my testicles every single morning.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Just
There we go.
one,
Now I'm
just
never going to look at those
one for
cats
nothing.
ever the same. God, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if you've seen one of those, you've seen my balls. Welcome to America. That's what it's like.
Oh, for our younger
Yeah,
viewers.
Well, speaking of what I've seen, yeah, and sorry, younger viewers, I'm about to steer around here.
Oh my
So one of the
God.
funniest things, I in Hollywood here, I go to Gold's Gym. I went this morning, and this
How's
was the
that?
first time that I had seen a man with a Brazilian butt lift. And
No.
it was massive. Like
So is it like it? I mean, like what they could show, like when they, what movie was it that Adam Sandler did where he was a plastic surgeon, and they had and the guy had the Brazilian butt lift in that. Was it? I mean, is it?
I'm telling you,
What movie was that?
it was because it was funny because I was in a spot where I was doing some step ups and some lunges, and I look over. So at this gym, there's like this turf area, and then a lot of people like stretch or do squats or whatever there. And I was doing lunges on it, and I look over to my right, and this guy's stretching, and legs, not extremely built, but then this massive set of butt cheeks.
Oh
Just
my!
Like, literally looked like he stuck two cardboard box hams like in the back of his pants, and I was so impressed.
Oh my gosh! There's so much plastic in there. Man, that's gonna kill me. Then
crazy.
It wasn't 50 First Dates. It wasn't. What was that movie? Oh, it was with Jennifer Aniston. Oh, no, not Blended. Just go with it. Was it Just Go With It? Is that what it was? Just Go With It.
I haven't seen the movies.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch it. Of course, I'm a huge Sandler fan, so.
Sean, really quick question for you.
Yeah.
You brought up the gym, so I'm just curious. Are men's crop tops, like the 80s style, are those a thing over there? Because I'm starting to see those coming back out here.
I've seen a couple fellas wearing them.
They're coming back,
but not like your Ezekiel Elliott, like fucking big like running back dudes that's like try to make fun of him for wearing a crop top and see what happens. No, I've seen a couple. I love it. I that's why I'm working so hard to get my abs back right now, so I can wear the crop top while I'm there, and I'm just not quite there yet. Working on getting them back.
You gotta get a voice the reason why.
You're going, and you keep on, but keep on going.
That's what we're missing. We need a men's crop top in our clothing portfolio.
Oh, speaking of which, wait a minute. I have the names right here. Let's do the draw. Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
For our free shirt, and so here we go, and I'm going to draw, and the winner is. Had to fold it so many times. Oh, our buddy Martin Hanley. And he's not watching tonight because he's doing children's camp, and so I'm sure he'll get us later on. But Martin Hanley is the winner of the free T-shirt, and I will be placing that order tomorrow. But yes, and
thank you to everybody who participated.
Yep, and we will also. So our next order will be due September 1st, and hopefully we will, once we get some of the sponsorage that I'm hoping to get, we'll get some more shirts. And yes, Craig McGuire says it is Just Go With It. So thank you, Craig.
Perfect. Yeah. So, well, aside from the craziness of you guys' dog life, and I guess I do have a little bit of a dog story. So, some people might not know. You guys probably don't even know. My dog has dealt with like ear infections for a while now. Like I've been battling them, and he's like, and so finally, I was like, I just took him off of like dry dog food, He's been off of it for a week and a half now, and now he's spoiled and eats like a king. Like eats bananas, sweet potatoes, cooked chicken, cooked ground beef, peanut butter, like the big mix that all the vets say to give.
Right.
No more ear infections.
Really?
He's doing better. The allergy within a week and a half. Like I've tried all this medicine, I've tried all this crap, and it was just the food. Just the food. So now instead of ear infections, I just have to pay like $5 a meal for my dumbass dog. So that's
Well,
the trade off. So, but we have a great conversation tonight planned for our listeners. We've kind of seen a big shuffle and change of things. There's been a lot of discussion. The big one that we kind of, when we first got to this topic that we wanted to tackle, we kind of started with the conversation about electric cars. Now, I'm sure I remember when I lived in like Jeff City and Eolia and all that area, and even in St. Louis, it was kind of like weird to see your electric cars, or at least they kind of stuck out. Like if you saw a Tesla, you're like, that's a Tesla and cool. Travis, I'm sure that in your neck of the woods, you probably see them pretty often at this point, or are they still kind of scattered out?
Oh no, I see Teslas all the time
All the time.
everywhere. They're big out here.
How about in like Louisiana? And are they still kind of scattered? Is it few and far between?
They have the Teslas that kind of look like a VW. Well, I compared them they look like a VW Bug. You know the ones I'm talking about.
Oh, the Model X.
Yeah, and so, I mean, to me, I always can. At first I think, oh man, there's a VW Bug, and then you see the little T on the hood there and everything like that. I'm seeing more of those. Of course, the only well, I'll take that back. I think Fastlane may have put in a charging station in Eolia. I'm not 100%.
They added them in Bowling Green.
Yeah, Bowling Green, the Airco there has the but part of my research that I did that I had found was that the price, obviously inflation and everything, but I pulled up a report from the AAA, the automobile, whatever that is, the AAA, and they say like the electricity required to drive 15,000 miles per year in a compact electric vehicle cost an average of around $546, whereas the same distance in a car around $1,255, or what it said, comparative to 137 or 130% more than the electric. Replacement or maintenance stuff. It said, if maintained according to the automaker's recommendation, electric vehicles cost $330 less than a gas-powered car at a total of about $949 annually. But you don't have to do oil changes and stuff like that. And then they did the survey. I read this article. It said a survey of electric vehicle owners, 71% of whom were first-time electrical vehicle buyers, revealed some interesting results. The majority, 96%, said that they would buy or lease another electric vehicle the next time they were in the market for a new car. 2 in 5, 43%, say they drive more now. They drive more now than when they owned a gas-powered car. On average, electric vehicle drivers drive 39 miles per day. I want to come back to that. And they said 78% also have a gas-powered car in the household, yet they report doing a majority of their driving, 87%, in their electric vehicle. But they said that perhaps the most surprising is the effect electric vehicle ownership has on long-standing fears, which is, of course, the distant range anxiety and charging time. And I found out that there are three different tiers of chargers. I guess and this was just when I found this. This was I guess just for Tesla. I don't know if this is for all electric cars or not, but Tesla has 3 tiers of like home chargers you can buy. That's the thing. The home charger kits average around, just the low end ones like your basic tier Charger is around $400, but your high end is like $1,000. So it depends on how fast you want to charge your vehicle up.
I would say most people though, because those home chargers, they're not meant for a quick charge. They're meant for
No.
like you get home from work at the end of the day, you keep it plugged in overnight, and you use it next day for your commute. That's kind of from what I've seen and heard. That's kind of what the purpose is of those. But they have like the what you were talking about, the different tiers. You can install. I know Tesla does it, like a level 2 charging system.
Yeah.
They'll come out and install it for you, and it's expensive. Chevy's doing it now too with their the Bolts, I believe.
So what does it bother you guys? Does it bother you guys that so Chevrolet and Ford, I know both have announced by 2025 that they will no longer produce gasoline powered I mean, they're still gonna make like their diesel trucks for hauling and semis and stuff like that. But as far as what's your guys' thoughts on that?
My thing with it is I feel like this is something that's being very rushed. I feel like they're trying to implement this without the infrastructure that's there. I mean, I think there was what country? It was Germany. They had tried to do this whole green push, and then there was actually not like a state of emergency, but they had to turn back on a lot of their fossil fuel power plants and stuff because they couldn't support the no emissions plan that they had. I guess it wasn't happening as quick as they wanted it. So I think my biggest issue with it is I feel like it's getting pushed on us before number one, the infrastructure, and two, my biggest issue is the charging times. The charging times for me just aren't there yet for me to really consider it. Now I know Tesla's close. Tesla, they do have like within 30 minutes, I think you get like 150 miles of charge or something like that. It may be more, but I mean, I know Chevy's is not quite there yet. There's charge a lot slower than Tesla's. So those are the two big things for me. Sean, what do you think?
I'm actually going to play like devil's advocate because I understand where in rural communities like the Midwest, and there's going to be parts where things are going to be more difficult. The infrastructure, and that's with everything. Look at internet, where in the Midwest, in some of those areas, like where my parents live, and high-speed internet has been out for forever and a day. Their internet is slower than dog shit, and it does not get any better. There's no infrastructure to make it better. My thing is, I believe that Americans as a whole, and we can get into this later, are too reliant on like self-transportation. But unfortunately, the infrastructure is just not there. We took out a lot of the railroads that were set back in the day, and then we never upgraded our rail system. I have a friend that just moved to Japan, and he's like, dude, the train system out here is insane. He's like, I got on a bullet train for the first time, and he's like, they mean bullet.
Yes.
That thing is quick. And so in an area like where I live now, electric cars are all over. I finally got to drive one. I got to drive a Tesla, and it is insane. It is so cool. It is so freaking cool. But I think it just depends. Like I asked an individual. So one thing that I'm learning about out here, and at least from my memory, and the people that I surrounded myself with and that I knew back home, a lot of more people bought cars as opposed to leasing cars. Out here, it seems like a lot of people lease cars as opposed to buy cars. And the people that I've talked to that own electric vehicles, they don't pay any more than like individuals back home that I know would pay for their trucks or would pay for an SUV or would pay for anything like that. I don't know. I think that the shift. I don't think it's crazy to think that like you have to start somewhere when it comes to technology change. And I agree with Travis. But I think that this I think when you force it to be so rapid, that's when you create issues. Like give them like anything, there needs to be a realistic timeline because again, the most important part of it is infrastructure. If the system can't support it, then you just have all these electric vehicles that are just going to sit there. And again, there's other issues. Like I don't think that in the United States, I wish we pushed nuclear energy as a clean energy source more, but we just don't. Like in my experience, I only know of two facilities of where they're at, and yet they cover such a large map. Solar energy just isn't there yet in order to support the infrastructure. And so when we talk about electric vehicles, the amount of carbon emissions that it goes just to make the battery almost is just as bad as some of these, the gasoline that we spend. In the same token, I do believe that if we have to make a push in order to get the technology there. And in a market when there's more competitors, when everyone's like the product just gets better because everyone's competing because everybody wants to make money. And so I think as the technology advances, it'd be great. But again, in the same token, I wish more people would take the bus. I wish more people would take a train. I wish more people would take a subway. I found out that Los Angeles has a subway, and I was like, "What?" And then they go, "Yeah, exactly." People that have lived here for 20 years don't know that.
I know it.
And I was like, "Huh."
When we were in China, we were actually one of the things we were looking at because when we had both Briley and Bryson to get to Hong Kong from where the adoption, I call it Adoption Central. The city was called Shenzhen, which is their major shipping center. But to take the train took, I think they said, it takes 45 minutes to get to the border, and then you literally have like 25 to 30 minutes to get through customs and then get back on the train. If you're not back on the train, they leave without you. And so that's why we didn't do it. Now, going with a car took us 2.5, 3 hours. And I mean, and we drove, I mean, the highway goes right along the track. And I mean, I just saw, I mean, just these trains would literally, I mean, we're going, I don't know how fast 200 kilometers per hour was, but that's how fast our guy was going. So I think it's like 110, 120, but that's how they all drive.
Enough to make your butthole tighten up.
Right. But this was the thing that floored me. These trains would walk past us like we were standing still. And it just was, I was just like, I looked at Jen, I'm like, do you see this? But I mean, I thought we were going in that direction though with under President Obama. And I know this because one of these rails runs right through my dad's backyard, literally runs through my dad's backyard. They rebuilt they built a high-speed rail from Chicago to St. Louis. I think the other one was Orlando to Tampa, and I think the other rail is Las Vegas to Los Angeles. And so if you go up to this railroad track, so and I mean, you'd have to see it. I'll have to take some pictures sometime next time I'm at my dad's, and I'll send them to you guys. So the railroad ties are not your standard railroad ties. It's kind of like some kind of carbon fiber. It's the same dimensions up, and then the steel, it's a heavier grade steel, and I'm thinking, and Dad said, yeah, they tell us that there's going to be high speed, and that was 2000 and when Obama go out 2016, and I think that was they built that in 2010 or 2012, and nothing, and then they were talking about. And I talked with our representative about this a couple, it's been last year, but and this was when Sean, you were still here. Remember they had talked about that tube that was going to connect Kansas City to, was it Kansas City to St. Louis?
It was Kansas City to St. Louis, and there was going to be a stop in Columbia. And I remember the big push they were talking about is live in St. Louis and work in Kansas City. It would take 28 minutes to
Yes.
get there. That
Yes.
was the talk.
That's insane.
And absolutely insane. But just imagine how dope it would be if that was like a thing. I mean, those things exist, and
Well, the technology's there. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they had talked about it, that's the issue with a lot of these projects. It's a lot of like, let's talk, and then nothing happens. Yet we continuously see over and over again, like
our friend
cities get the funding to open new stadiums.
Our friend Chris Colbert says they called it the Hyperloop, is what it was called.
How much influence do you guys think big oil has on decisions like that, though?
A lot. I was just doing some, in preparing for tonight, I was also doing research on the hydrogen car. The hydrogen car, yes. So the hydrogen car has been in development for 20 plus years. But the main drawbacks of it, the technology is not, even after 15, 20 years, I think the earliest Chevrolet had introduced a hydrogen car. Where's my notes here? 2007. Yes. But still, the technology is not there because you still have to charge it. It's got a high depreciation value, higher than a regular car. And you're getting a hydrogen cell to put into your car. And so that idea just never really, it's the technology's out there, but the benefits, though, they say are incredible, just like the electric cars, electrical mileage. Outstanding mileage, So the whole thing, though, and I wanted to go back to that thing of saying, you guys know, you heard this week about the deal that Joe Manchin from West Virginia, of all places, Joe Manchin, who is the senator of the largest producer of coal in the United States, this bill that Democrats and Republicans are trying to work on together. It was originally called the inflation bill, but now it is called, let me get the official name of it. It was because Build Back Better fell apart. This new bill basically just fight inflation, but there's 430 or 400 and let's see, the Inflation Reduction Act would raise $739 billion, investing $433 billion in climate initiatives, claiming it will reduce carbon pollution roughly by 40% by 2030. This, the fact that it's coming from Joe Manchin, who is I'd safe to say a moderate Democrat, $370 billion for investment in clean energy, clean transportation, energy storage, farming, home electrification, and clean tech. And this whole the big push behind this is the special interest group that's behind this is called the Sunshine Movement. You can follow them on Twitter. They've got a Twitter page, and the Sunshine or Sunrise Movement is they're really behind this thing. But there's a lot of, I've done the research on the good and the bad of this thing. But when you hear something like this, what do you guys automatically think about stuff like this?
Sean, if you want to go first, I'm actually pulling out the Sunrise Movement right now on my computer.
With Build Back Better kind of falling through the way that it did, I appreciate the fact that other options are being, thrust out there. If I'm not mistaken, what were like some of the major key issues that you had discussed, like that you were having issues with this?
Well, so through my research and again trying to find both sides, a conservative organization that I trust and that is called the Heritage Organization. I'm sure you guys have heard of it before. They don't subscribe to either party. They're conservative. But doing some of the research on this some of the notes that I took down here, it said, if this act passed, it will increase the prices that Americans pay for energy, make the United States less energy secure, and do absolutely nothing for the environment. Over time, the market shifts from offering competitive products independently to offering costly and less reliable products that rely on taxpayer support, i.e., this bill. It will line the pockets of special interests. It will advance a radical leftist agenda. That's one I don't totally agree with, but they said it will make Americans poor and give them fewer energy choices. And so they broke down the spending on this of this $369 billion to, and so renewable resources will get $30 billion. Utility corporations to implement this will get a $30 billion. Okay. Doors and window companies will get 10 years worth of subsidies of an undeclared amount. Transportation, as far as for roads and everything else, at least $10 billion. Okay. And it says, not only does the Act Energy section commence with the extension of energy tax credits for technologies that we are continuously told are already competitive, but it also dictates a series of new labor and wage regulations. Okay. To me, I was critical. I'll be honest. I was critical of the whole climate change thing. And 15 years ago, I was really critical of it. I was like, it just. And Travis, I want you to give in your experience up in Alaska too. But then I went to China. And that was the first day that Janine and I were in Beijing. And luckily we had our Benadryl, but our Benadryl, we were coughing up black mucus. Everybody, and this is before so we're talking this was 2011, okay, when we went to get Briley. And everybody was wearing masks. I'm like, what's the deal with the mask? Is there some And no, they were wearing masks so they could, breathe. We get back to the room and they have these huge HEPA filter air purifiers in the hotel room. Super nice. I mean, I don't know how much these things cost, but Janine and I were coughing up black mucus. Okay. And so then the next day we went to Tiananmen Square. Now, you don't believe me? Look this up. Do a search for it. In Tiananmen Square, they have a LED screen that's, I would say, maybe 25, 40, 20, between 25 and 40 foot long. It's long, and I'd say it's about 10 foot high. They turn it on pollution days. They turn it on twice a day to show the sunrise and the sunset. And we were only in Beijing one day when we saw one patch of blue sky. When we were in Briley's city, we were there for a week. We only saw the sky one day. And their pollution is so bad that they call those cities furnace cities. The pollution, so in the summertime, the pollution holds the heat. I mean, the pollution is so bad, the smog is so bad that it holds the temperature. I mean, the heat from the factories and the heat from everything else in the city, it has nowhere to go. And so they call these cities furnace cities. And they had actual air temperature. And we would get updates from our Hank Owens, our friend Hank Owens, his aunt works in China with the orphanages. And she was giving us updates on Briley before we got her. And she said, be praying for the orphanage. I'm like, what's going on? She said, well, the actual air temperature in Chongqing today was 120 degrees, and the government is not letting them turn on their air conditioners yet. And so, I mean, and seeing the smog and coughing up the crap, my view of global warming and pollution, the amount of the big issue is carbon emissions. I mean, that's what, say that if you want to believe in global warming, that's just a bunch of horse crap. Okay. It's happening. Travis, why don't you tell us about what you experienced when you were up in Alaska?
Yeah, so in Alaska, obviously there's glaciers and you can go see them. And one glacier specifically, it's called Exit Glacier in Seward, Alaska. And there's like a trailhead that leads up to where the glacier is now. But when you get to the parking lot and the trailhead starts, from where the trailhead starts all the way to the glacier, there's signs posted along the trail that show you, and it just has a date on the sign, and that's supposed to tell you that's where the glacier was at that time.
Really?
And I thought the trail starts at like 1890 something or 1900 something, and it just, as you're walking down the trail, getting closer and closer to it, the dates go higher and higher and higher. And even like the last 20 years, I remember seeing like it's pretty significant how much just that glacier alone has shrunk. So I mean, I saw that, and that was kind of eye-opening. And I would say even while I've been here in Chicago, there's some days the smog's so bad you can't see downtown. And I mean, I work up in here, so usually I got a pretty good view of it. And there's times I can't see it just because of the smog. Yeah. So I mean, those two experiences there, yeah, I could see why climate change is an issue, and I could see what's causing it. My question is, and I think this is where the debate is, maybe between the two sides, is I think most people would think, okay, climate change is a problem, global warming is a problem, but how imminent of a threat is it really? I think that's where there's a big debate, because you have some people that are hardcore on the left are saying this is a worldwide crisis. This could be an immediate disaster. Like the Earth isn't going to make it another 10 years. And you got people on the right who are saying, well, the world's got a history of high and cold seasons. And I've heard that argument, or there's people saying, well, we're a long ways away from significant global warming happening.
Well, and I think that's where this debate is going, where they are saying the average, and I've got tens of pages. I'm trying to go through all my notes that I have here, but they, so they started measuring the Earth temperatures at the beginning in 1880. Strangely enough, during the Second Industrial Revolution. Okay. This is where we're at now compared to where we were at then, and I'm trying to find the exact stat, but we have the Earth on average has warmed. I think they said it was like 10 to 12 degrees, and of course, so we're talking. Okay, so you're talking 140 years. Okay, and of course, the big one that they keep on coming back to is going to be, the carbon emissions, methane emissions. And this is where farmers get nervous. Okay? Because, methane, our largest source of methane is going to come out of your livestock, your cattle, your, pigs and everything else like this. And so the government's trying to put regulation on all of that. And where we're at. And so where we're at as far as, are we doing anything to preserve this? Well, if you guys remember back in 2016, AOC proposed the Green New Deal. Okay. Which was at that time was ridiculous. Some of the things that she was proposing in that Green New Deal were absolutely absurd. She said by 2050, she didn't want to see, that a large portion of carbon emission was through jet travel, and so she wanted to eliminate, jet travel. And I'm like, all right, is that even a viable thing? Is that something that's going to happen? But where and go back to what you were saying, Travis. They're saying, so what are we seeing? What are the issues that we're seeing? Disappearing glaciers. Okay, and you talked about how that is moving, early snow melt, severe droughts, stuff like that. Rising sea levels, especially in Florida, other places such as Gulf of Mexico. And of course, we're seeing wildfires. Sean, I hope you won't. I mean, have you seen any kind of wildfire action since you've been out there? Hello? I may be the only one.
I know I can say when I was in Alaska, second to last summer there, we had like a extreme heat wave, and it was like, oh my God, there was a crazy shortage. Like you couldn't find an air conditioner in like all of Alaska. They had already sold out. They didn't get fans back in stores until like October. It was such a crazy heat wave, and no one there has air conditioning. So I remember that summer. I guess that's another example I could use. That summer specifically, there was like record high temperatures. It's like 100 degrees in Anchorage, Alaska. That's insane.
Well, look at what's going on in Europe. What was it last week? So, one of my, I don't know if she graduated with you guys. Did Bailey Beecham graduate with you guys, or was she after you guys? She was after. Yeah, and so
So she was after us.
Yeah, so Bailey Beecham, I think, is working. Yeah. I don't know who if it's a chemical company, but she's doing some work over in Europe right now. And I just talked to her dad on Saturday. They had been over there for 2 weeks. They were over there visiting Bailey, and Tommy was just like, it was miserable, because one thing they do not have a lot of in Europe is air conditioning. And they said they had heat. I mean, what we would consider, like a 120 day. And I was scrolling through TikTok, and I saw this one dude who was in his garden in London. He had a black frying pan that he sat out in the sun, which you could probably do this anytime, but he sat it out there and he fried an egg in his frying pan. I mean, I've seen it that hot before, but never when I think of Europe, I think of, especially summertime, I think of rainy, miserable, especially like Northern Europe in England, and in the Scandinavian countries, I think of rainy, nasty, miserable weather in summertime, But we're seeing, what can you attribute this to? I mean, it's got to be climate change, but yet some people are still saying, "No, that's still,
Well, here's my penny for my thoughts is like, let's say it's just time for the Earth to heat up, and that's just what's happening. Why would we try to continue to just say, fuck it, let's just keep doing what we're doing and add to the,
it's not our problem now,
the already pending issue? Because here's my thing. I believe it or not, I care about my great grandchildren, and they don't exist yet, but I care a lot about them. And so, all the work that we do, right? The work that we put into this life, and for whatever it is, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for your Lord and Savior, whether it's for whomever you're putting in the work in. A lot of us we do work so that the fruits of our labors can be enjoyed by the next generation of us, of our future ancestors. And what world do we want to leave behind to our children and to them? And I think it's a tough battle because when you look at America, right, we're an overtly competitive nation, right? We never want the other guys to get ahead. And the thing is, like, our nations like Russia, China, India, they don't give a shit about slowing down. Okay, they're not going to. And so, maybe that's a big thing is, okay, well, if we weaken our infrastructure, then, the bad guys win. What if they do this, that, or the other? I remember when I was in Poland, for example, same thing. There was no air conditioning. They had to ship in these companies like flew over ice machines just to make ice at restaurants because we put up shop there and all these soldiers wanted cold beer and cold sodas and cold water, and they had never had that before. Like when I got there in 2016, all these restaurants had these brand new like refrigerator and drink refrigerators because they were like, we don't normally ice this stuff. This is for you guys specifically. And so the infrastructure changed over there, at least in the regions where the United States military had a presence. And, V, to answer your question, sorry, I was handling some child. I have not personally seen any of the wildfire nonsense here yet. I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm sure it's coming. The one thing I can say is, even like throughout like certain parts of town where you wouldn't expect to see it, there is constantly wildfire warning signs, like today's threat level is high or today's threat level is moderate.
Right.
I'm lucky, like where we're at, right? I could count on one hand actually the amount of times we've turned our air conditioner on since we've been here. Because where we sit in West Hollywood, we get a breeze that comes in from the ocean. Mm-hmm. So like Tony, Julian, and I are adapting to get used to like living in a space that's like 79, 80 degrees to be comfortable. Because I'm used to like that 73, 72, 70 degree air conditioning crank like a mother to be comfortable. But it's shaded here, the breeze comes in and it's nice. Like we're able to be comfortable. And so I don't know. I mean, again, I agree. Like, anytime like St. Louis, would have like those heat waves, and St. Louis, that's a whole other thing. St. Louis is underwater right now. I remember the big deal would be whenever these heat waves would hit, that it would be elderly people were just dying in their homes because they either didn't have working air conditioning or their apartment complexes didn't have air conditioning. And it was like a serious deal. And that's kind of what Italy and some of those European nations is facing right now, is that the lack of infrastructure is quite literally killing their people with how hot it's getting in places where it hasn't been hot like this before.
So our poll question this week was what do you feel should be done to improve the environment? The choices were promoting more electric vehicles, enforce industrial regulations to reduce pollution, promote alternative energy solutions, support cleaner burning fossil fuels, recycle, and then I always allow it to where somebody can add something. Chris Colbert, who is still with us, thank you, Chris, for this. He said regenerative agriculture is not. It's not the cow, it's the how. So if you're still on, Chris, please comment in the section. I'm interested in that, what you actually mean by that. But 30% said to enforce industrial regulations. 50% of our survey said promote alternative energy solutions, like you said, nuclear energy, solar panels, that kind of thing. Support cleaner burning fossil fuels, and then Chris voted for his own thing. So
V, were you, sorry to cut you off, but I just thought of this because I just don't know off the top of my head. Were you like, was ethanol like a big thing before you were born? Was it introduced during the time? Because I remember there was a point, at least in my lifetime, that I remember where like in the mid 2000s, I feel like there was this big push for ethanol, and yet now people avoid it like the plague.
The earliest memory of ethanol that I have is after I started teaching. I mean, I'm sure it was around, and of course we have the big production plant over at, can't think of the name of the town right now, but it's over north of, or west of or east of Mexico, Missouri. And it's in, I can never remember the name of that town, but they're Missouri's largest producing ethanol plant. And, and I remember when Casey's gas station started using more ethanol gas, they had and from what I understand, I mean, E85 actually burns hotter. Because your octane is at the heat at which you're and 85, I mean, like right now I run an 87 octane, and I think they said any vehicle built after 2017 can take E85 gas now, and E85, I mean, it burns hotter and it burns cleaner, but you get the crappiest gas mileage. I mean, your gas mileage just, you're paying cheaper for your gas, but you're.
Do you know? I mean, off the top of your head, if you had a guess, like, because I just don't know what the difference is. Like, I've heard anything from like, oh, it's like you're gonna get 5 miles less, or I've also heard like you're gonna get like 10% of the miles you'd get from a normal gallon.
So I had an E85. I had an E85 Chevrolet Impala. It was a 2012 Chevrolet Impala that I had and it had early on, you could use E85 if it had like the yellow gas cap. It was either yellow or a green gas cap that you had that you could use. And so I only did one E85 fill up and I owned that car. I probably put 75,000 miles on that car. And I specifically remember filling up one time. And I was used to getting in that, and of course it was a 6-cylinder Malibu or Impala. And I would get, 27, 28 miles a gallon. And I think my gas mileage may have went down to 23, 20. I mean, it wasn't anything devastating, but it was still enough that I'm like, okay, it's not really. I mean, I noticed that. Okay, I'm filling up sooner. So to me, it just was. I was. So, but I mean, Chris Colbert says that he said using livestock to sequester carbon and build soil organic matter, mimicking nature to prune to landscape. He said, check out Joel Salatin, Gabe Brown, Greg Judy, Ray Archuleta, and Will Harris. They are apparently experts on that. Thank you for that. Appreciate that, Chris. But, when I look at alternative fuel sources, I mean, are you seeing now outside of the electric car, Sean? Are you seeing like solar panel? I mean, here in Illinois, or here in Missouri and Illinois, I'm seeing more and more and more and more of these wind turbines, which there's a lot of criticism about those things. But I mean, Travis knows this because every time he drives down 55, once you get to Bloomington, Illinois, there are miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of these wind farms. They have a wind farm that's between here and
crazy.
Between here and Springfield. There's a new massive wind farm, and these things are generating. And now they're putting in the Gulf. They've got these wind farms out in the Gulf of Mexico now that they're putting out there. And I mean, but yet people are bad mouthing these because in Illinois they were going to build a wind farm in Pittsfield, and there's one wind turbine there in Pittsfield, but Pike County was okay, we'll add it for the novelty factor. But then you had all these the thing that I remember, and I honestly remember this, were farmers saying that it was that the noise and that the motion of the blades were causing their cows to like seizures and stuff like that. And I'm just like, come on. And they didn't want it. And so, and I mean, REA was saying, look, if you allow us to put this in, this is going to drastically reduce our energy costs because we're not going to be burning coal. We're going to be using wind turbine to power Pittsfield, to power Pike County, and they're like, oh, and so, I mean, I think that's part of the problem with people don't like change. And so,
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's the same. The 5G's making the frogs gay, and we can't be doing all that because
we
you
need to
put
watch
your
out for
balls too
Travis then.
close to the. Yeah, exactly. Travis is installing the internet that will make me a homosexual.
Well, did
Just
you
not
guys know
watching.
that 5G is actually what's causing monkeypox?
Yeah, nobody's saying. Are they saying that?
I don't know. Probably I was just being a smartass, but
I was going to say, please don't be
No,
saying.
like it's so.
Oh man.
I remember. I know, and I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say what exactly. But I remember there was a conversation I had about like wind turbines with an individual that like went on like legitimately was like they don't actually produce energy. None of the electricity actually can make it to wherever it's going. It's got like a 50-foot radius from where the wind turbine is, and that's where the electricity dies out. As green energy can't transfer over to wherever it's trying to go, and it's just a waste of money, and it's always going to be a waste of money. Burn the fuels. We're not going to run out of fuels, and all this stuff. And I never understood the fear of. I understand change is difficult for people, and as rough and tough as some people like to act, the slightest inconvenience can ruin. Here's the thing, like where we live. Name like how many times do you think any of those good old boys that own any of those big old Duramaxes or Dodges,
Oh
how many of
god.
them have actually pulled or loaded something in that truck that required the horsepower that they were paying for? Not too often.
No.
Like when I was in Poland, like there were trucks the size of S10s. There are semis that were pulling like were these little boxes. We like indulgence. We like bigger, we like better, and that's just the nature of the beast. And I'm not like I'm saying there's some individuals that could use, things like that, but people are afraid of change for whatever reason. And like, because let me ask you guys a genuine question. Because I think about it myself. Because I've been so used. When I turned 16, I've had a car since I've been 16 years old. Okay, for a decade, I've been driving independently for a decade. Let me ask you guys this: if there was a viable public transportation source that was inexpensive, that could get you from your house, even if it was a short walk from where you live to work and back conveniently, like route and time. Maybe the most you might have to wait at a stop is an additional 15 minutes. Would you guys start using public transportation?
Yes, without a doubt.
I would. Unfortunately, with my work, I have to carry so many tools. So
Right now,
like,
you
Right.
said like
work. But
Right.
if I could, yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
If there was a public because right, especially now during this time, I mean, to buy whenever we go to Chicago and we'll buy one of those. They have some kind of they used to. We haven't done it in a while, but when we would use the elevated train to go everywhere. You hop
everywhere
on. I mean,
Chicago.
and you hop on that elevated train. You can buy one of these. It's like a card, and they're rechargeable cards. I don't know if they still do it or not, but it was and you could pay for. I mean, pay whatever it was. We paid like $25, and it was like a day. It was like a week pass or day pass. Maybe it was a day pass for my family. And I mean, we were riding. I mean, we'd go up to up to Wrigley Field, go down to. I mean, we went as far north as Wrigley and as far south as Soldier Field or actually Comiskey Park on public transportation. And I mean, in Chicago alone, Travis can back me up on this. Parking is at a premium rate, and with
Yeah,
and
it's
with
ridiculous.
gas now, with gas but gas is going down below $4. Ooh, but still, to me, I'm like, I would in a heartbeat. I mean, I like the independence of being able to drive a vehicle, but if I had a cheaper alternative that didn't cost me I haven't. I'm actually going to bounce. I would know tomorrow because I'm balancing my checkbook tomorrow. But I look at my bills every month, and last month my gas bill just going, and I haven't been going to school. I've been just going to church, and just a little around here was still was $325 last month, and it's costing me $100. And I filled up my truck on Sunday. It cost me $100 to fill up my truck again on Sunday, and I have a 25-gallon tank, and so I know if there was a I don't know, train or a subway or something, but I mean, again, here you are out here in the middle of sticks when something like that isn't really viable.
It's not. I mean, even with an improved rail system, I think could really help. I mean, I know like just out here, I know Chicago, we have not just the CTA, but we have Metro, which connects your suburbs to
Hmm.
the city. So I think a place like St. Louis, yeah, we have the train that goes in the cities and stuff, but I don't know of any kind of train system that takes people from the suburbs of St. Louis to St. Louis.
No,
I
Metro go.
mean,
I
there
think
isn't.
the Metro. John, you may
I
know
It
know that
stops
the
at St.
Metro
Charles,
Link,
right?
the farthest,
Saint Saint
they
Charles.
added the stop. They added the stop to St. Charles, and then, but it didn't used to do that. Like that was relatively new, and then that's where
Yeah.
the whites of St. Charles were having a big fit because people from the city were coming to downtown St. Charles, and they're like, "We gotta close all the bars before 10 p.m." And it was, that was the drama, and so it like, that was the issue with it. Out here, like, if I don't count the gas that I spent, driving from Missouri to Los Angeles, which was very expensive for the two vehicles, um, I would say I definitely use less gas. We do a lot more walking. There is some I got some good news I actually got to talk to you guys about later once we get off here, but um, there's a lot of opportunities around here that I can just walk to. And also, what's nice about where I live, at least, um, I use a thing. I've been using the Lime bikes quite a bit,
Yes, yes. Saint.
and phenomenal. And and they're convenient. Like there's sometimes I got to walk a block or two to get to one. And there's some areas like I found out because I went to church on Sunday. You can't drive them in Beverly Hills. That is not a spot
Yeah,
where they will allow them. They're like,
they don't
yeah, we
allow
don't
them
want
in
that
down.
shit littering the streets.
They don't allow them in
Um,
St. Louis, in downtown St. Louis either.
yeah, but like whenever I'm gonna go over to I'm going to the comedy store tonight, and I'll probably just hop on a Lime bike, get over there, and I pay for the Netflix of Lime bike. It's $4.99 a month, but then it cuts all your rides in 50%, and then it gets rid of the $1.30 unlock fee. So I can get from here, I can go about a mile, and spend about $1.50.
Yeah,
So
you
I
can't even
mean,
do that.
it's
You can't do that with Uber even. So I mean,
no
No,
Uber. I no, yeah, no, and so um and I've found like but I'm in a spot where you can do it, like where even in the suburbs, even in there's certain parts of LA where I couldn't just go for a walk to get to here and there. I'm lucky to live in a community where I can do that. Um, but so like again, I understand why like when I lived in Whiteside, obviously I'm not gonna fucking walk to the gas station because what am I gonna walk
right,
4 miles?
right.
Um, but I think where if there were better options, like things that I miss. My grandma. I remember when my grandma would visit us. She lived in North Dakota, um, but when she would visit us in Iowa, she would take the Greyhound bus. And
Yeah,
I've considered like when I have gone on trips, like doing that, but it just doesn't make sense economically. They prices have skyrocketed, and I don't think that taking a bus that's going to be double the time or triple or quadruple the same time that you'd be like in a plane, that sometimes they cost the same amount. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. So there needs to be better infrastructure because if there was, people would be more apt to travel and do things more conveniently. Like how crazy it would be, like, legitimately, to live in Chesterfield. Let's say you lived in Wentzville or Chesterfield, and you drove 20 minutes, you parked in the parking lot, you got on a train, and then you worked in downtown Kansas City just by Union Station, and then you were back home before 6 o'clock. That'd be crazy. Think about how much more fun like the I-70 ball series would be. Like little things
Yeah.
that would make things better. And and we've talked about it. There's electric cars still have a long way to go, and I like how Travis hit the hammer on the head. Or hit the nail on the head. If you hit the hammer with the hammer, then he's got other problems. But
Right.
hit the nail on the head by forcing it, by holding the paper to the flame. That's where the problems are created. At least those expectations need to be realistic. Because, like you said, I think it's Ford. I know Kia. I'm pretty sure Hyundai. They're all going to. They claim to go going electric by 2025.
That was
And because of that, there is going to be a drop in quality, and we're going to see it.
And Hyundai, and that was something I came up in my research. Hyundai offers right now. They offer they offer the cheapest electric car at $28,000. So they offer the cheapest electric car at $28,000. So, and I just pulled this up too. You talked about rail travel, okay? So to ride Amtrak from Quincy to, and I chose Naperville because that's where my brother-in-law lives. By the way, for us to drive to Naperville from here is every bit of 5 hours. So you can make it from Quincy to Naperville. Now, Quincy is granted 45 minutes up the road from me, but you can go 3 hours and 34 minutes, and just to prove, $29. $29. Well, I can guarantee you cannot get to Chicago. If I put all four, so that's $120 to take my entire family to Chicago. Okay, there's no way I can get to Chicago on $120. No way. With the two vehicles that I have, none.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, but and I want to close with this. We went over a little bit, but you talk about change. Okay, and I actually teach this every year. This is how, and just as an example, when the Ford Model T was starting to be mass produced. Two examples. There was a law in Vermont, and that required, because Vermont wanted nothing to do with automobiles, they required that a flagman be a mile ahead of the car to signal that they were coming. There was also, and you talk to, this has been about 20 years ago. This lady was in my church. She was in her 90s, and she was telling us stories about how she grew up on the farm, and her dad hated when the cars came by because it scared. And this lady's dad would, like, break glass and throw nails and throw screws out in the road just to keep cars from going by their house. So, yeah. And so here we are now, 120 years later, fighting the same battle, except now it is, we're
People
fighting.
are unplugging and cutting the cord on charging stations across the United States.
Yeah. So it's going to be, I think we can, I disagree with some of the stuff that, I agree that we have to do something. We have to do something. I'm with you, Sean, on preserve. I want my kids to, I don't ever want a Chinese situation coming into I just can't even begin to fathom living in that kind of world. I think that, I think that it is safe to say that we need to do something.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, as always, it was wonderful to talk to you. I can say, so I wasn't able to make it last week. Things got a bit crazy. But our viewers, you guys were awesome last week. It was probably due to the fact that I wasn't on the show. But seriously, you guys, it was really cool.
Just
really,
for last week was our highest live show. We had maintained throughout the entire show. We had maintained an average of 15. We got as high as 25 live viewers last week. I shared with the guys this week. our total reach. Now, this isn't people who are watching, but people who are at least checking our page out or going over and seeing what we're about. Our total reach for the month of June was 7,400 and some odd. And that's because of you guys, and we are so appreciative of that.
Yeah, seriously. And again, same thing with this as we continue to move forward and get our schedules in line. And some very exciting things are coming from us. So please be a friend, tell a friend. You guys know where to find us. And it could quite literally just be like, hey, anytime your friend or someone you know at work mentions, man, I'm looking for a new podcast. Hey, just check these guys out. It's not anything flashy, it's not anything fancy, but it's really good conversation. And I strongly recommend for you guys to check it out. We really do appreciate it. We're appreciative of all you guys. I'm appreciative of the two of you guys. Thank you both to the two of you guys for keeping everything on the straight and narrow path while this move has been hectic and crazy. Tomorrow will be a month that I'll have been here, so that's wild.
You're officially a Los Angeles.
Yeah, officially, yeah. It's crazy. I'm only waking up. It's only 8:30 out of here, so I'm just waking up. So, seriously though, thank you guys, all of our listeners. Be a friend, tell a friend, and again, to the people that ordered T-shirts and jerseys, those orders will be going out soon, and then we'll be getting another batch rolling September 1st. So, thank you all so much, gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend, and I can't wait to talk to you all next week.
You guys.
Bye, guys.